feedback on her presentation. And there will be time for questions at the end of the session. You can drop them into the chat and I will track them so that Nadia can answer those at the end of the meeting. Our presentation today is by Nadia Wilkes. Pathways offers a lot of opportunities for you to stretch and grow. If you have shied away from the words podcast or blog, today we will tackle those projects head on. After today's session, you will walk away with tips and resources on how to complete the fun out-of-the-box electives found in levels 3 and 4. This special session is led by Nadia Wilkes, the current District 115, yes, there are that many districts now, Public Relations Manager. She is a recipient of this year's District Spark Plug of the Year Award. Last year, she received the District Toastmaster of the Year Award. She earned her first DTM in the traditional program and is now on her way to being DTM squared, nearing the completion of her Pathways DTM requirements. Outside of Toastmaster, she is an author currently touring her first book, Woke Up Dead. She serves the community as a family law and estate planning attorney. Here to present Demystifying the Pathways projects, please help me welcome distinguished Toastmaster, Nadia Wilkes.
Woohoo! Thank you so much, Barbara, and welcome everyone to Demystifying the Pathways project. I'm so happy to be here with you this morning, and I'm so passionate about Pathways and everything that it has to offer. So my goal today is to give those of you who feel like you're not that tech savvy a little glimpse and some resources into how you can do some of those out-of-the-box projects. You've already heard a little bit about me. And once again, if you feel that you are not tech savvy, if you feel that you don't know what a podcast is, you don't know what a blog is, so you couldn't possibly do it, I'm going to show you that you absolutely can achieve some of these amazing Pathways projects. Now, this session is not for people who know how to build their own websites. You're already podcasting. This will be a very basic understanding of these projects and concepts. So if you are already a technician or a graphic designer, then this will be really, really basic for you. So I just wanted to let you know that in case anyone does want to go to another session really quickly while we still have time. There will be a lot of information that I share today, and just know that my slides are on the handout that you receive. So if you do get that handout, the link has already been dropped. Just know that you don't have to write down everything that's on the screen. That's going to be given to you. You can just listen or take notes of things that are additional information. Oh, weird. Okay, weird. So the projects we will cover today: creating a podcast, writing a compelling blog, preparing for an interview, and building a social media presence. Most of the time will be spent on the podcast section because that is something most people are unfamiliar with and it's a little more involved. And then we'll wrap up with those other three at the end. So let's go ahead and get started. Creating a podcast. Is there anyone out there who's never even heard of the word podcast? Feel free to put your thumbs up or clapping or something in the chat. Do most of us know what that is? Okay, great. Looks like a lot of people know what it is. So if there's anyone out there questioning and just didn't want to say that, a podcast is essentially online radio. It's a talk show, but the person listening doesn't have to tune in when you're actually delivering your show. You are going to record the audio of your show in advance and then put it on the internet, and the listener can download it at their convenience. So it's pretty much an online talk radio that can be streamed. The project requirements in Pathways, I've given you a clip here. When you're actually in Pathways, you will see this description. To complete this project, you need 60 minutes of audio. Now, you can't have an episode that's shorter than 10 minutes, so you have to have at least a 10-minute long show, but you can have 6 10-minute sessions, you can have 4 15-minute sessions, you could do one 1-hour session. Break that up however you choose to, make it on any subject you want it to be about, And then you're going to come into the club environment, play a portion of your podcast for 5 to 10 minutes, and then give a 2 to 3 minute speech on your experience. So the project itself is really easy. Who has a podcast? You might be surprised at who actually has these available. I'm guessing you're going to recognize most of the people that are on the screen. And if you know them, you know that they talk about very different things, either live your best life or financial empowerment. We have a comedian up there. Ellen is a talk show host. You literally can have a podcast about anything, and many people do. Actually, about 60 million people do. Why should you podcast? Well, there's many reasons. If you have a business, this is a great way to establish yourself as an expert in your field. It's a great way for you to build your audience. If you're a storyteller, it's a great way to practice your public speaking skills. There are just many different ways that you could use this to market yourself and build yourself in your community and in your industry. It's very cost effective. You can do it for free. Some people do invest a little more money into their show, but that is up to you. You certainly can grow with a podcast show. And one of my favorite features, okay, my computer's wigging out. It offers a personal touch to the person who is listening. So yes, you can write articles or magazine stories or something in written form, but when people can hear your voice, it makes it feel like they know you a little bit more, that they're right there with you. And last but not least, you don't have to look presentable. It is just your voice. So you can record a podcast naked if you want to. That's my favorite. Getting started. To start your podcast, the first thing you're going to do is choose a topic. Once again, a podcast can be about anything in the world. If you want to tell scary stories, if you want to talk about the real estate industry, if you're a doctor giving medical tips, anything you can think of, you can build a podcast around it. But it helps to have a topic so that your audience knows what your show is going to be about, and that will entice them to tune in because they know what they're getting. Once you've chosen a topic, then you need to choose a name. It helps if it's catchy, but if it's around your business or your industry, it might be your company name. Just make it something fun like Nadia's Treats or Angie's dog walking stories or whatever. Just something that people will remember, and name your show so that you have a brand that you start to develop. You're going to create some kind of cover art so that people know your branding and know what your show looks like. If I'm looking at a page that's full of different podcasts, you're going to have a cover art for your show that's the same week after week, so that if I'm looking at a full page, I know immediately, taking this one for example, when I see these three guys, I don't even have to read the words. This is Bo, Greg, and Ryan with Toastmasters. So it's going to be a cover art for your show, kind of like a book cover, and you're going to use it repeatedly so that you start to build your brand and consistency. And last but not least, after you've done all that, you're going to start to produce your show. You're going to decide, what's the format? Are you interviewing someone? Are you delivering the news? Are you telling stories for one half of your show and then doing questions from the audience the second half? Decide what your format is going to be and how long your show is going to be. Now, people have short attention spans these days, so about 30 minutes is probably what you want to target for. But if you have a show that's an hour long and it's engaging and people are willing to listen to it, feel free to do an hour-long show. It could be as short or as long as you want it to be. Now let's jump into actually making the podcast. And I have a one-stop shop reference for you, and that is called Anchor. It is absolutely the easiest way to make a podcast. And that's not just because they say they are. I've actually tried this process myself because I wanted to make sure that they were true to their words before I gave this resource to you. So I went through the process that I'm going to tell you about. And I can tell you, having done podcasts in several different ways, this is the easiest. To access podcasts, you can download it on your phone. You can go to the App Store and download it on your iPhone. Or if you're one of those other people, you can go to Google Play and download it to that resource. You can also go directly online from your laptop and go to anchor.fm and access this through a web browser. You're going to see this beautiful purple display, and they are going to walk you through creating a podcast. I've put my personal link down there. If you want to check out my podcast later, feel free to jot that down. Now, when you go to this website or when you load it on your phone, they're going to have you enter your email address, choose a password, choose a name for your podcast, and it's going to let you know if that name is available. Only one person can have a name. So if Karen's Treats is already used, then you're going to have to choose something else, but they will let you know that. Once you put in those snippets of information, you are going to be off and running to this main screen. Now, you really don't have to do more than that. Once you've set up your podcast name, you can click that first icon, make your first episode, and it will lead you to a page that looks like this. And all you have to do is push that purple button at the bottom, pick up your phone, talk into it for however long you want to, about whatever you want to, and push stop and publish, and that's it. They take care of the rest. They will distribute your podcast to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many other big name podcast hosting services. And you're a podcaster. They literally take care of everything for you. Now, if you want to dive in a little deeper after maybe you've done 5 or 6 podcasts and you decide, I really like this, I really want to put a little more effort into my show, then I recommend you start adding some embellishments. First embellishment that's available is a trailer, and you can do that also right in that application. Just like when you go to see a movie and you've seen an advertisement or a trailer for it, you can create a trailer for your podcast. And this is going to be a 1 minute or less advertisement that just lets the listener know what they can expect when they listen to your show. You will have a dedicated page on Anchor, and this will stay at the top so new listeners can always access that trailer right away. You don't have to do that when you're first starting out. Maybe you need to get a few episodes under your belt and decide which direction you're going to take your show. But once you have a decided topic and niche, and you know your format and you know what you're offering, do a trailer. It's a really nice, easy way to invite people in and let them know what to expect. Next, intro and outro. These are just consistent messages that are put at the beginning and end of every podcast. And it really lets the listener know that they're in the right place. After you've got dedicated followers, they know immediately once they hear your intro starting, okay, I've got the right show because this is her intro. I hear it every week. So the intro is a great lead in to you, the host. It could be music, words, sound effects, and it usually goes something like, and now here's your host, Nadia Wilkes. Let's listen to one really quickly.
You're listening to Comedy Central.
That one was really short. It was only about 3 seconds, but it's also for Comedy Central, and most people know what that is, so they don't need a lot of advertisement. But as I said, yours can be up to about 30 seconds. I wouldn't go longer than that. And it could say, hey, you've tuned into Nadia's Treats. Today we're going to talk about da-da-da-da. And now here's your host, Nadia Wilkes. And then you pop in and say, hey, it's a great sunny day, blah, blah, blah. Intro. And so they hear that intro time after time, and then without even thinking about it, as soon as your podcast starts to play, they know they've got the right show. Now let's listen to an outro really quickly.
The Daily Show with Trevor Noah, Ears Edition. Watch The Daily Show weeknights at 11, 10 Central on Comedy Central and the Comedy Central app. Watch full episodes and videos at thedailyshow.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and subscribe to The Daily Show on YouTube for exclusive content and more.
As you notice, the outro was actually a bit longer. And this, I would say, again, no more than 30 seconds, but you want to make sure you get all the pertinent information in there. This is your call to action. What parting words do you want to leave your audience with? What do you want them to do? Do you want them to follow you on YouTube, subscribe to your channel, add you on Facebook? Do you want to say, I have a new episode coming out every Tuesday, be sure to check back? Whatever those action items are, make sure you put that in your outro. And again, it's pre-recorded. You can pop that on the end of your show week after week. And so that's just a consistent reminder and parting words for your audience. So it's great to have. You can also add sound effects to your show, and this just gives the listener a little more of a personal touch. It lets the listener know that you actually put time into your production. You've got some fun little things in there that they can look forward to. And sound effects could be crowds cheering when somebody says something profound, or applause, or bells or whistles, whatever you think is what is appropriate for your show. You can add it in. Now, I wouldn't overdo sound effects too much because sometimes they can get annoying. It is a fine line, but when you really get going on your show and you know what's appropriate, there are many great ways to use sound effects. The biggest way would be to break up segments. Let's say you do interview someone for the first 20 minutes of your show, and then maybe you want a 20-second interlude of music so that your listener knows, okay, we have a switch coming. And then you've got a question and answer session. And then you report on the news or your favorite thing of the week. Sound effects can be a great way to also just give your show clean breaks so that you have a well-produced, well-cohesive show and the listener gets used to your format. And the final one on this list, monetizing your show with advertisements. After you get a good bit of following, companies may actually seek you out to advertise on your show because wherever there's a crowd, companies want their name in front of it. So here's the sample of an advertisement that you might have plopped in your show.
Get more from your morning cup. Introducing Starbucks coffee with golden turmeric. The taste you love blended with turmeric, ginger, and cinnamon for a balanced morning. Learn about Starbucks coffee with golden turmeric by visiting athome.starbucks.com/more.
So that was an advertisement from Starbucks. And this came from a podcast that had about 300,000 listeners. Starbucks probably isn't advertising on your show if you've only got 4 followings, but once you start to grow, you can get large corporations that will actually pay you to allow them to put an advertisement in your show. And a great way to do that is, again, if you do have those different segments and you need a break anyway, instead of background music or a sound effect, you can put an ad there. And Anchor also makes that very easy. In fact, you just tell them where you want the break in your show to be, and they will find sponsors for you. So it's really, really a one-stop shop where you don't have to do very much after you've recorded your show. That makes it very easy for someone who is new to this process. Once you are ready to take your show to the next level, I recommend you invest in some equipment that gives your listener the best sound and show possible. The first thing you're going to want to do is buy a microphone because sound is going to be your most important part of your show. People will give you grace for about 10 or 12 episodes, but if you're going to keep going with the podcast, you really want a good microphone that's going to deliver a good product. I've listed 3 here for you. They're all available on Amazon, and they're just 3 different levels that you can use to grow with as you get better at your show. You've got your beginner, your intermediate, and your pro level, and they range from $100 to $400. You can always Google some more, but these are highly rated by many technicians so that you can provide an amazing sound. More equipment that you might want to think about, the next thing you'd like to buy is headphones. Most microphones have a plug where you can plug your headphones right into it. And that just allows you to listen to yourself as you're recording so you hear what the listener is going to hear. This alerts you to any problems before you get too far into your show or record an entire show only to realize your microphone didn't sound well. Sound mixing boards are great if you have multiple hosts or if you're continuously dropping in interviews from other sources. Once you run all your sound through a mixing board and you listen to it through your headphones, you can equalize the sound. So instead of having someone sound really loud and then someone sound really low, you can, in the moment as you're recording or as you're putting your show together, equalize the sound so that your listener has a nice, consistent product. And then I just added pop filters and mounts. Those are just different things you may want to add, but that's dependent on what microphone you purchase. So all of these things can be found on Amazon for very reasonable prices. Some resources that I wanted to give you. Podcasts are actually in the Anchor app. So you can listen to those before you start your own, and they have a lot of different topics, such as why you should podcast, how to pick a topic, how to pick a microphone. There's about 20 or 30 different podcasts already there for you to get you started because they want you to succeed. And the app and all of these podcasts are available at absolutely no cost to you. The second resource is a book or audiobook that you can download from Amazon or audiobooks. So you want to start a podcast. And this is going to be a little bit of a workshop in book form, just guiding you through the process of thinking about what you want to talk about. Do you actually want to do a podcast? Are you going to be able to keep this up for the long term? And she just gives you a lot of things to think about before you actually get started. After you've been podcasting for a while and you decide, I really like this, I have a large following, some people decide they want to move their podcast to a larger separate platform. Now, Anchor has a lot of many great advantages, but the one thing about it is that you record everything into Anchor. You don't have the ability to keep it on your own computer or your own phone. And if you're an artist, you really need to have your own work. Let's say you've been recording on Anchor for a year, and all of a sudden they go out of business and the app is gone off your phone. You just lost all your episodes. So it's good to build your audience, but once you've built one, you may want to move to another platform. And I've given you editing software, Audacity and GarageBand. These are two great softwares that you can use to actually edit your show off of Anchor, so that you can add the embellishments, add the sound effects, add your intro, your outro, complete your show, and then you can upload it to a separate website, such as Podbean, which I use, or the other three, all of which are popular podcast hosting services where they give you unlimited amount of space, and you can upload as many podcasts as you want, depending on which package you choose. You are looking into getting into some cost here. Audacity is free. GarageBand comes with your iPhone or your MacBook. But for Podbean and these other services, you probably will end up paying a monthly fee anywhere from $9 on up to $45. So just consider that as you grow. However, as you grow, hopefully you've gotten some advertisements to offset the cost of these programs. And lastly, just a quick note about your studio. And yes, you should have a studio, but you don't have to build one. Most people don't have a dedicated studio in their home, but I like to remind people that the worse your equipment is, the more quiet your environment needs to be. Yes, you can pick up your phone and record right into it, but quite honestly, the microphone in your phone or even the headphones that came with your phone, they're not the best. So if you don't have your own microphone yet, I really recommend going into your closet. It is a very quiet space, and the clothes that are hanging provide you with a great buffer, buffering out any outside sound. A couple things you want to be wary of: running appliances in the background. Sometimes you're used to it and you don't even notice it, but it's producing a hum in the back of your audio, and that could be annoying to the listener. So running appliances and running air conditioners can really kill your sound. So be sure to be as far away from the kitchen as you can. And when I'm recording something, I actually turn off my air conditioning, which means I don't record anything for very long because it's hot here. I'm not going to sit in a hot house trying to record episodes. So just some things to think about as you're starting your podcast. Now we're going to move into the next section, writing a compelling blog. Now, blog, as I mentioned earlier, is just a written form of your thoughts. It can be on a standalone website that is meant just for blogs. It could be a part of a larger website. A lot of companies have a blog in addition to all of the other pages. But this is just a way to capture your thoughts and put it down online for people to access whenever they're looking for information. This can also be a collection of stories, recipes, news, anything you could talk about, you can also blog about. So there's a lot of similarities here between podcasting and blogging. For your project, what you have to do is complete 8 blog entries in a 1-month time span. That's it. It's pretty simple. So I always say, drive your club members to your blog and get feedback from them, because you're eventually going to give a speech to them at the end of your project about your experience. So a great way to use them as your testers, especially if you're using your blog to launch a business, is to have them go read it, see if they like the content. Is it engaging? Is it easy to understand? We're Toastmasters. We love giving feedback. So you have a prime audience in us, and it doesn't really matter what your venture is. Ways why you should start a blog. Same reason that you would start a podcast. If you're using this for business, this is a great way to establish yourself as an expert. It's a great marketing tool. It's a great way to build your audience, to get information out there. If you're a writer and you have a book coming out, your blog can be a collection of mini stories, getting people ready for whatever your book or your topic is about. And it is extremely cost effective. Just like podcasting, there are ways that you can do this for free. And then, of course, there are ways that you can spend a good bit of money on it. Just depends on how much you want to invest in this process. Getting started. You're going to, once again, choose your topic, just like a podcast. And once you've chosen that topic, you're going to create a name. Now, here's where it gets a little tricky, because you do have to buy a website address to go with your blog. It has to be held somewhere on some website address. So I will always say, once you're throwing out names, you want to make sure that the web address is available before you get too dedicated to your name. Don't start advertising your blog until you know you have the web address. But it just gives you a consistency in your product if you can have the name and your website address be the same. And we'll talk about that on the next slide. And then you're going to choose a website host. That is a company that is going to host your website and make it available online for anyone to access. And last, you're going to choose a website theme. So all of that might sound a little overwhelming, but we're going to break it down and go through this in just a few easy steps. Actually, almost one easy step, because we are going to talk about the world of WordPress. WordPress is an amazing application, and you've probably been exposed to it and didn't even know it. As you can see here, 37% of the web is built on WordPress. And that's just an interface that people use to give their website a design. It's a one-stop shop. It's that place that you can go and choose your website address, create your website, and write your blog entries all in one application. This is available on the website. And then once you've created your blog on your website and you have a web address, you can download the WordPress app, and then you can create your blog entries right from your phone. So let's get started. When you go to WordPress.com, you will see this in the middle of the screen around a beautifully laid out website. And there's a blue button that says Start Your Website. You click that button, and just like the podcast, you're going to put in your email address and choose a password to sign in. And then it's going to walk you through the steps of picking a website address. So all you have to do is type in what you want your website address to be, and they will tell you if that's available or not. Find one that works for you, your blog, your topic, agree to it, and then you are off and running. So you've chosen your website address, and there are 2 ways to do this. Now, if you want the completely free option, you can choose a name, and I've chosen Toastmaster Nadia because that's what I go by. My Facebook page is Toastmaster Nadia. My email address is toastmasternadia@gmail.com. So I wanted Toastmaster Nadia, and I was really hoping it was going to be available. Now, if you want the free option, you could do toastmasternadia.wordpress.com. Putting that .wordpress in the middle, that is advertising for WordPress. So they give that to you for free because they're advertising themselves in your name. But if you're using this for business, it's really a great idea to invest a little bit of money and actually purchase your own website address so you can take that WordPress portion out, because people who are savvy and they know about websites, they know when they see that, that's free. And it's like, well, they didn't even invest in themselves enough to buy their own website address. You know, it just kind of, you know, it's not the best option. It's doable if you have to do it starting out, but I would say definitely think about investing in your blog. So I went ahead and purchased my own toastmasternadia.com, and you can go there now if you like. And it's $18 for the year, but they're going to give you the first year free. Now there is a little catch to that. If you do decide to purchase your own website address, you're also going to have to purchase hosting. Now, as I said, WordPress is a one-stop shop, so of course, they offer the hosting. You can do the $4 a month plan, but that really doesn't include a whole lot. It doesn't give you a lot of pages. It doesn't give you a lot of theme options to design your website, and it doesn't give you a lot of space. So they're already telling you that $8 a month option is the most popular, and that is going to give you a great deal of space and a lot of variety of themes to get you started. And then if you're using this for business, it can grow with you. You can always increase to that business or that e-commerce package that allows you to sell on your site, among other things. So I started with the premium, and it does bill on a yearly basis. So that first year was $96. Each additional year will be about $120 because they're going to add in that $18 fee next year. So I went ahead, I've got my name, I've got my topic, Toastmaster Nadia. I'm going to talk about Toastmaster thing, got my website address, I've got my package paid for. Now it's time to start building my website. Once you've chosen all those pieces, it will take you to the back end of your website, and you're going to see a page like this. You could go right on the right-hand side and do write blog post and start typing in whatever you want your first blog entry to be. And then once you publish it, it's on the website and you're good to go. They will give you a basic design to your website. So if you like that one, you can just keep it and you are now a blogger. And again, it's just that simple. As you can see in the left-hand side, it says toastmasternadia.com. I can download the app, have it on my phone, and from now going forward, I can just go to my phone and blog and publish whenever I get the spark or inspiration. But I didn't like that first design that they gave me. It was really basic and it didn't do a lot. So I went to the left-hand side and I chose design. And when you choose design, it's going to take you to a drop-down menu and give you themes. And once again, themes are just designs for your website, the layout, where are the pictures, what's the background color, where is the text. So you can look through tons, oh shucks, where'd my little video go? There it is. So you can look through literally thousands of themes, and trust me, in the past, I've spent all day on this. You can go through thousands of themes just deciding how you want your website to look. Anywhere that you see a picture, you can just replace it with your own picture. Anywhere that you see text, you can replace it with your own text. So this gives you a large variety. So depending on what you're selling or what you're writing about, if you have recipes or you're a photographer, you want something that allows for a lot of pictures. If you're just doing the news, maybe you want one picture and space for lots of text. You decide how you want your website to look, pick a theme, and they will on the back end plug it into your website, put your blogs in the appropriate place, and you are off and running. So again, it's just that easy. And this part is actually a lot of fun. So I was actually up and running in 30 minutes, and that's what they promise. So my website looks like this. I replaced my picture with whatever was there, put some text in, and voila, toastmasternadia.com is live. Some additional resources for you are just some additional websites that you may consider looking at. Blogger is a lot like WordPress, but it's just for blogs. I don't like their themes as much. They don't have as much variety, but it is a great one-stop shop and it's owned by Google. So if you already have a Gmail address, just use that and it pulls your profile and you're ready to go. Wix and Weebly are also one-stop shop website builders. And then Bluehost and GoDaddy are actual hosting services. Sometimes their hosting plans are a little bit cheaper, so you can buy hosting through them, and they allow you to integrate WordPress into their sources. Fiverr is just a great place, if you haven't heard of it, to hire people to do some things for you. So you can actually hire a graphic designer to build your website if you choose to. Moving on, we're going to talk about preparing for an interview really quickly. And I love this project because right now, a lot of us find ourselves interviewing for something. Either we're back in the job market, or we are launching a product or launching a business. And Pathways has a project that allows you to practice before you get into that real world situation. So grab yourself a partner, let them know what you're interviewing for so that you both can be prepared. And then you're going to give a 5 to 7 minute role play in the club environment. Afterwards, you're going to get feedback from your club members, and then you'll be better prepared for your actual interview. So I've just got some interviewing tips that work well no matter your situation. Always be sure to research the company that you're interviewing for, or if you're being interviewed by someone, look up the interviewer. Find common ground. Maybe you went to the same school. Maybe you're both in Toastmasters. This is just a great way to start off on a positive note. You always want to try to link in with some common ground that gets your conversation started on a good foot. Always be prepared for that tell me about yourself question. What makes your product the best? What makes you the best candidate? Why should I listen to you above all the others in the field? Have clear selling points for your product and make sure that you end on those selling points. If you're selling a lipstick, this is moisturizing, it's got sunscreen, and it works on every skin tone. Whatever it is that makes your product the best or makes you the best candidate, you want to make sure those are the words you leave your audience with. Maintain great energy. Bring the positivity. That is always going to go a long way. And you perform what you practice. So practice ahead of time, whether you're in your Toastmasters Club meeting or practicing one-on-one. Make sure that you are prepared when you walk into any interview situation. And I recommend just using Zoom to do that. You can have your own Zoom account, and it's free, and you can just record yourself for an unlimited amount of time just by clicking that record button 2 buttons over from the green, and then play it back and then evaluate yourself. Are you looking at your camera, or are you looking at the screen, which makes it look like you're looking down? Are you fidgety? Are you nervous? Are you sweaty? How are you coming across? So just evaluating yourself gives you the opportunity to fine tune before you step into that real world situation. And nowadays, it's very common that your interview might actually be on Zoom. So this gives you a way to get familiar with it before stepping into that real world experience. And lastly, we are just quickly going to go through building a social media presence. I really love this project. And there's a lot of latitude here because you can choose any social media outlet that you want. And there are tons to choose from. And you really set the parameters for this project. Do you want to grow your audience? Do you want to reconnect with certain people? Do you want to bring your family closer together? However you want to build your presence, whatever your goal is, you claim it and then you work to achieve that. Once you've gotten your results, you're going to go to your club environment, give a 5 to 7 minute speech, and then again, get feedback from your audience. Now, building a social media presence using Facebook, YouTube, whatever, that sounds daunting, but it doesn't have to be that hard because if you've done a podcast, you can share that on social media. If you've done a blog, you can share that on social media. In fact, on all those platforms, you can tell WordPress, as soon as I upload my blog, share this to my Facebook and my Twitter. Or you can tell Anchor, share my podcast to these social media sites. So you're not reinventing the wheel or trying to make something new. You're just cross-using what you've already created. And that's a great way to put out content without having to build something specific for social media. So I just have some tips that I'll go through quickly. Well, they're on your handout, so I'll just highlight a few. So always be consistent, and that's with anything that you do in life, in or out of Toastmasters, whatever your venture is, be consistent. If you tell people that you're going to make a podcast every week, be sure to make it every week and stay true to your word. If you've given your audience an expectation, you want to follow up on that. You always want to cross-reference sites. So on Facebook, you want to list all of your other social media sites. If you're on Instagram, they give you one space for a website. So put your website on there. Make sure that you're filling out your profiles and cross-referencing everything. Engaging with your audience. If someone leaves a comment on your post, they're showing interest in you. So be sure to follow up with them. Write an answer or a response. If they asked you something, just tune in and say, thank you for your interest. I appreciate that. Here's the answer to your question. Hashtags are going to be very important for you. Hashtags are great ways to group stories together. And a lot of people might not be following you personally, but they might be searching for your story or your industry. So hashtag every post that you have. It could be hashtag Toastmasters International, where you'll see a collection of conferences and contests. It could be hashtag burger joints. Maybe you're in the restaurant business or you give reviews. People looking for burger joints might tap into your post, like it, and then follow you because you've grouped your story with a collection of others and made it easy for you to find. So hashtags are a great way to build your audience. And then you always want to tell a story. Make your presentation personal. Here in Toastmasters, we love stories. We bond with stories more than just information. So be sure to add a story into your postings so that people identify with you. And then I've put some social media management apps down there that you may want to consider. And that gives you one website to go to where you can manage all of your social media outlets from one place. You can schedule future content and you can also see analytics. So if you want to see if your platform is growing or you want to see which posts were most popular, if you want to see all your messages in one spot and respond from there, it makes it very easy to manage multiple platforms from one place. But don't just set it and forget it. Don't just schedule things for 2 months out and walk away. Remember, you need to engage with your audience so that they know that you're paying attention to them and you have an interaction with them. So those are just some tips for making your social media presence the best it can possibly be. And once again, you're not reinventing any wheels. If you did an interview, you can post that. If you did a podcast, you can post that on your social media. If you have blog entries, share that on social media so that you're driving people to the different ways to connect with you. So now we have about 8 minutes left. So I'm going to open the floor up for questions and comments. And Barbara, I think I don't know if anywhere in the chat, I didn't get to see the chat, but that is my presentation. And here is how you can get in contact with me if you need me at a later date. You can text me, email me, or visit my website. And you guys have been amazing. Take it away, Barbara.
Thank you, Nadia. There were a couple of questions in the chat. One was regarding a podcast, and I think you might have answered it. They wanted to know if you own the content on Anchor.
It is your, I'm sorry. It is your content, but you don't have a way to keep it on your own device.
Okay.
So if something happened and Anchor went down, then your work could be lost. You can stream it yourself, but you don't have a way to actually save it yourself.
Okay, and then regarding the blog, there was a question in regards to changing the site or the theme or the look of the website or the blog, the website where you're posting your blogs. Can you go back and change your theme? And if
Yes.
you can redo the website at any time.
Yes. So when you went to that design portion that I showed you and you chose a theme, you can try one out. Say you don't like it, you can go in, pick another one. If you've already created blog entries, it's going to keep those blog entries. And every theme has a dedicated spot for where the blog should be. So it's very plug and play. WordPress is going to pop your blog entries into that dedicated session, no matter what theme you use. So it's very easy to change it every month if you want to. I would say decide on one though. Don't change it too much because just like a magazine cover or your podcast cover, you want people to know that they landed on the right place when they see your website. Coca-Cola doesn't change their website every month. CNN doesn't change their website every month. So decide on one pretty quickly and stick with that so that, again, you give that consistency.
And there was a question about today's recording. Julie Murphy said you can email her to get a copy of Nadia's recording, and it will also be on the Founders District social media. And Julie just posted her email in the chat box. And
you can write it on the social media, but you can for sure get a recording by emailing me.
Perfect. And the survey evaluation for Nadia is also currently in the chat box. And Christy just asked, how do you conduct an interview on your blog?
Well, I've had it done several ways, but most of the times if somebody interviews me, they send me the questions in advance, and then I write out my answers to the questions, and they post that back and forth on their blog. So that is a great way to either interview someone or be interviewed by someone. And another thing you might want to do with blogs, especially as you're growing your audience, you can ask people to be a guest writer on their blog and invite them to be a guest writer on yours. And that's just a great way to cross your audiences so that both of your platforms can grow. So even though it's written form, there's still a lot that you can do with a blog.
Thank you. And I do not see any other questions in the chat box. Whoops, here comes one. How does the podcast blog credit toward the education and pathways work? Where can I find more information on this?
Most of these projects that I went through, you will find in level 3 or 4 of most of the paths. And that's where you can go ahead and choose that as one of the electives. It's never one of the main ones that you are required to do. So it's always one of those elective projects. But once you get to level 3 or 4 in almost all of the paths, you'll see these projects, go through the modules and complete the project, and then just fill out your member completion and have your VPE approve your level just like any of the other ones. And you can also just get the project descriptions like I did a snippet of. You can always just look over any of the project descriptions by going to that main page in Pathways and choosing those tutorials and resources, and you'll find all of the breakdowns there.
And there are two last questions. One is, how do you follow up on all of the different media sites that you talked about? And since you said stay engaged with your audience, I think there's a concern over actually keeping up.
Yeah, and that's why I mentioned that social media management. I use Hootsuite, and I've also used Later. So right in that application, you have linked it to all of your social media platforms. You can look at your Twitter, your Facebook, your Pinterest right from Hootsuite, and it's going to show you when someone commented on a post, and you can respond right there. It will show you when someone has given you a private message, and you can respond to the message right from Hootsuite. And you can also schedule out your future posts. So if you want to plan your postings for a month, you can do that on, say, a Sunday afternoon, and you don't have to be online every day trying to post. But don't forget to go back and just see if you're getting messages, because you don't want to not check for a month and then have people thinking you ignored them.
And we have about 30 seconds to wrap up. Someone wanted to know, what platform do you use for a video blog?
Video blog, I would have, again, you can have WordPress, and you would have to record that video and then upload it as a part of your blog entry. And it's very user-friendly. If you can use a Word document, you can use WordPress. And it will be a little icon that has a video, and that is where you will add your video link, and it will publish that with your blog entry on your website. Same thing with audio or podcast.
Any other additional questions? I will see get to Nadia and Julie to get answers back to everyone. Please.
toastmasternadia@gmail.com.
And click on the survey, or when Toastmasters sends you the survey to your email after the class, please respond to Nadia and give her her feedback. And I want to thank Nadia Wilkes for being with us today from District 115 in today's class. Enjoy the rest of your day at LACE. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.